Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. When a woman touches a man's soul, I'm not talking about his mind, not his body, not his ego. I mean his soul. Everything about that man starts to change. You can meet 1,000 people in your life, but when somebody reaches your spirit, you remember it forever. That's a rare kind of connection. And when it happens, it turns a man's whole world upside down in the best way possible. When a woman connects with a man's soul, she changes how he sees love forever. You see, most men grow up thinking love is just about attraction, chemistry, or companionship. They believe it's about finding someone who looks good beside them or someone who fits neatly into their lifestyle. But when a woman comes along and touches his soul, everything he thought he knew about love gets redefined. Suddenly, love isn't just a word. It's an experience. It's something that lives in his spirit. It's something that humbles him, changes him, and opens him up in ways he never imagined. That kind of connection don't come every day. It's not found in a pretty smile or a fancy date night. It's found in the quiet moments, the way she listens, the way she understands him without words, the way she brings him peace when the world feels heavy. A man who's been touched at the soul stops chasing surface level love. He's no longer impressed by temporary attention or casual affection, because once you felt something deep, you can't go back to shallow. That woman teaches him that love ain't about perfection, it's about connection. She makes him see that real love isn't about control, it's about acceptance. When she looks at him, she doesn't see the man he shows the world. She sees the man behind the armor, the one who's been hiding his fears, his pain, and his doubts. And when she chooses to love that version of him, it changes everything. That's when a man realizes love isn't about ownership. It's about freedom. He starts to love with more patience, more gratitude, more honesty. He begins to understand that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power. Because the only time a man truly feels safe enough to open up is when he feels seen. And when a woman touches his soul, he feels seen, not just noticed, but understood. She doesn't have to force anything because her energy speaks louder than words. Her presence calms him, her voice grounds him, and her love heals him. After that, love takes on a new meaning. It's no longer a game he plays or a goal he chases. It becomes a spiritual journey. That kind of love matures him. It makes him want to be a better man. It pushes him to confront his past and grow into his purpose. And here's the beautiful part. Once a man's soul has been touched like that, he can't unfeel it. He might try to deny it. He might walk away, but deep down, that connection stays with him. It becomes the standard for everything that follows. Every relationship he has after will be measured by the depth of that one soul deep love. Because when a woman touches a man's soul, she doesn't just change his heart, she changes how he understands what love really means. Soulful connection makes a man open up emotionally, something he doesn't do easily. Most men are raised to hide their emotions, to stay strong, to never let anyone see them cry or hurt. They grow up believing vulnerability is weakness, that being open means being soft, and that showing emotion makes them less of a man. But when the right woman steps into his life and connects with him on a soul deep level, all of that conditioning starts to fade. She doesn't force him to open up. She makes it feel safe to do so. There's something about her energy, her patience, and her presence that tells him, you can let go here. And for the first time, he does. He starts sharing his thoughts, his fears, his past, things he's never said out loud to anyone. That's when you know she's touched his soul. When a man opens up emotionally, it's not because he's weak. It's because he finally feels seen without judgment. A soulful woman has the power to make him feel like his emotions are valid, like his struggles are understood, and like he doesn't have to carry his burdens alone anymore. He starts talking about the things that kept him up at night, the regrets he hides behind his smile, and the dreams he's too afraid to chase. And when she listens, truly listens, something changes in him. He feels lighter, he feels respected, he feels human, because what most men crave isn't a woman who can fix them. It's a woman who can understand them. Once that door opens, his whole way of expressing love changes. He stops being guarded, he stops pretending, he stops running. He starts showing emotion freely because now he knows it's safe to feel. He might start calling more often just to hear her voice. He might start writing her messages late at night, opening up about things that don't seem big but mean everything to him. He may even cry in front of her, not out of weakness, but because he's finally found someone who makes him feel strong enough to be soft. That's a rare kind of love. That's a love that heals. And it's not just his words that change, it's his actions too. He starts showing affection differently, being more gentle, more attentive. He wants to give her the same peace she gives him. When a man opens up emotionally, it's like a new version of him is born, one that's honest, expressive, and unafraid of love. He learns that vulnerability isn't losing control, it's gaining freedom. He realizes that being open doesn't make him less of a man, it makes him more human. And once he's tasted that kind of emotional safety, he'll never forget the woman who gave it to him. Because when you touch a man's soul deeply enough to open his heart, you don't just earn his love, you earn his trust, his truth, and his forever. When you reach a man's soul, loyalty becomes his natural language. A man can like many women, but he will only ever be loyal to the one who moves something deep inside of him. When his soul is touched, he doesn't look around anymore because he's already found what he didn't even know he was searching for. Loyalty stops being an effort, it becomes instinct. He stops entertaining distractions because he realizes that nothing compares to the peace and authenticity he feels with her. That woman becomes his focus, his calm, and his drive. He won't risk losing that connection for temporary attention or shallow attraction. His loyalty comes from gratitude for finally finding someone who understands his heart without him needing to explain it. When a man loves a woman from his soul, He doesn't cheat. He doesn't play games. And he doesn't hide. He becomes transparent. He wants her to feel safe because she's the one place he feels safe to. He'll guard her heart like it's his own because he knows how rare that bond is. Loyalty for him isn't just about faithfulness. It's about presence. He's loyal with his time, his words, and his energy. When she needs him, he shows up. When she's struggling, he listens. When she's silent, he notices. That's a man whose soul has been moved. He understands that love isn't just something you say, it's something you prove through consistency. You can tell when a man's loyalty comes from his soul because he starts protecting the relationship like a sacred space. He won't let negativity, pride, or outside influence ruin what he values. Even when he's angry, he respects her. Even when things get hard, he stays committed because his connection to her isn't built on convenience, it's built on purpose. That's why a man who's touched deeply doesn't run at the first sign of conflict. He works through it. He learns to communicate, to listen, to grow, because he knows love like this doesn't come twice. Loyalty also changes how he carries himself in the world. He starts making better choices because he understands his actions reflect on her too. He doesn't flirt for validation or seek attention to feel desired. Her presence already gives him everything he needs. That woman becomes his standard, his reason to do better. She awakens a kind of maturity in him that no lecture or experience ever could. And once that happens, his love becomes steady, not loud, not boastful, but solid, the kind you can count on. That's what happens when you reach a man's soul. You don't just gain his affection, you earn his devotion. Loyalty becomes his way of saying, I see you, I choose you, every day. And even when distance, time, or life try to test that bond, his soul will still recognize hers because real loyalty doesn't fade when love is rooted in the soul. He starts protecting your peace like it's his own. When a man's soul is truly touched, something shifts inside him. He stops thinking only about himself and starts thinking about you. Your happiness becomes a part of his purpose. He starts paying attention to what makes you smile, what calms you, what hurts you, and what drains your spirit. It's not because you asked him to, it's because his heart feels connected to yours. When you're at peace, he feels grounded. When you're hurt, he feels unsettled. That's the power of a soul bond. It makes two people move as one. And for a man, protecting that peace becomes a mission because deep down, he knows how rare it is to find someone who brings balance to his life. He'll start removing anything that threatens your calm, people, habits, and even parts of himself that used to create chaos. If he used to argue over little things, now he walks away from drama. If he used to joke about your emotions, now he listens carefully and respects your feelings. He doesn't want to see tears in your eyes or tension in your heart because your pain feels personal to him. It's like his soul has grown another layer, one that feels every storm you go through. That's when you know he's not just in love with your body or your beauty. He's in love with your peace. A man who's touched at the soul level understands that peace is more valuable than pride. So instead of proving he's right, he'll choose to protect the bond. He'll apologize when he needs to. He'll calm situations instead of escalating them. And he'll always look for ways to bring you comfort. He might surprise you with small acts of care, a kind word, a quiet gesture, a moment of stillness when you need it most. That's his way of saying, I see what the world takes from you and I want to give it back. His protection isn't just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and mental. When life gets tough, he'll be your safe place. He won't run when things get messy or when you're not at your best. He'll remind you of your strength, speak life into your spirit, and stand between you and anything that tries to disturb your peace. That's the kind of man who's moved by love, not ego. He won't let outsiders influence how he treats you, and he won't let his own pride create distance, because he knows peace is fragile, and once it's lost, it's hard to rebuild. When a man protects your peace, it's because he values your energy as much as his own. He's not just being loving, he's being intentional. He understands that real love isn't about ownership, it's about protection. And when his soul is connected to yours, guarding your peace becomes his way of guarding his own heart. He starts planning a future that includes only you. When a man's soul has been touched deeply, something inside him clicks. His mind, heart, and spirit all begin to align around one vision, and that vision is you. Before, he may have been uncertain about what he wanted from life, drifting between goals, relationships, and dreams. But when he meets the woman who reaches his soul, suddenly his purpose becomes clear. He begins to see beyond the present moment, beyond the temporary pleasures, and he starts thinking about building something lasting. It's not just about having you in his life today, it's about making sure you're there in his tomorrows. He starts talking differently. The word we starts replacing I. He includes you in his plans, in his conversations, in his dreams. If he's thinking about his career, he's thinking about how it can give both of you stability. If he's talking about travel, he's picturing you next to him on that plane. His future no longer feels complete without your presence in it. That's when you know his love isn't temporary, it's intentional. A man who's been touched in his soul doesn't plan for convenience, he plans for commitment. He starts saving, working harder, and building not just for himself, but for the life he wants to share with you. You'll notice how his priorities shift. Late nights out start to lose their appeal. He becomes more focused, more grounded, more responsible. He starts thinking about what kind of partner he wants to be, what kind of father he might become, what kind of legacy he wants to leave behind. And at the center of all those thoughts is you. You've awakened a sense of purpose in him, and now everything he does has meaning, even his smallest actions, working overtime, learning new skills, setting boundaries, are guided by that quiet desire to build a life that can hold you both securely. He also begins to communicate differently. He's more open about where things are going, more transparent about his intentions. There's no guessing, no mixed signals, no confusion. Because when a man's soul is tied to yours, he doesn't want you to doubt where you stand. He'll talk about the house he wants to buy, the places he wants to take you, the things he wants to experience together. He'll bring up family, dreams, and goals, not because he's trying to impress you, but because he truly sees you as part of his forever. When a man reaches this stage, he's no longer looking for excitement. He's looking for stability. He's no longer running from love. He's running toward it. You become the motivation behind his growth and the peace behind his plans. And even when life gets uncertain, his commitment remains steady. Because when you touch a man's soul, you don't just capture his heart, you inspire his vision, and he starts building a future with only one name written all over it, yours. Soul connection makes him grow, mature, and love with purpose. When a man's soul is truly touched, it doesn't just change how he loves, it changes who he is. He begins to evolve in ways he never thought possible. Before that connection, he might have been careless with his time, his words, and his emotions. He might have chased attention, avoided commitment, or moved through life without any real direction. But when his soul connects with someone who brings him peace, clarity, and depth, something inside him awakens. It's like he finally meets the man he was always meant to be. That kind of connection doesn't just make him feel loved, it inspires him to become love. He starts to see the bigger picture. Instead of thinking short term, he starts focusing on growth, emotional, spiritual, and personal. He wants to communicate better, handle conflicts differently, and show up consistently. He starts breaking old patterns, the ones that made him distant, defensive, or detached. Because now he has a reason to rise above his old ways. That woman's energy becomes a mirror, reflecting back the best parts of him, even the ones he didn't know existed. She doesn't just challenge him, she elevates him. And the man who once avoided responsibility starts embracing it. The man who once feared love starts protecting it. This kind of connection humbles him. He learns that love isn't about control or dominance. It's about patience, effort, and understanding. He starts to appreciate the small things, the sound of her laughter, the warmth in her presence, the peace in their silence. It teaches him gratitude. He begins to understand that love is not something to be taken for granted. It's something to be nurtured. Every word, every touch, every promise begins to carry weight because he realizes that what they share is sacred. He doesn't want to lose it, and that fear doesn't come from insecurity. It comes from respect. You can see his maturity in the way he handles challenges. Instead of shutting down when things get hard, he chooses to talk, to listen, to learn. Instead of letting pride destroy what they have, he chooses humility. He starts showing love not through grand gestures, but through daily consistency, checking in, showing care, staying patient, and being reliable. He starts thinking less about what he can get from love and more about what he can give to it. When a man grows from his soul, he becomes intentional in every way. His love is steady, his loyalty is deep, and his presence is peaceful. He becomes the kind of man who leads with integrity and loves with purpose. And that transformation doesn't just benefit the woman he loves, it uplifts everyone around him, because when his soul has been touched, his love turns into legacy. It becomes something that lasts long after words fade, a reflection of how deep a man can grow when love reaches his soul.